Hi everyone and welcome to a reading vlog. Now if you are wondering why I'm looking like this, very shiny, and why the hair is up, well, I just finished filming my July wrap up here and it's very hot, it's very humid, so I'm looking like this. We're just going to roll with it for now. But I'm going to be reading The Weaver and the Witch Queen by Genevieve Gornichec during this vlog. Now this will be a spoiler-free vlog, so I will just be giving you my first impressions while reading this book, but this is my most anticipated release of the year. I have 5-star prediction feelings here, of course. I have all-time favorite standalone feelings here. So I do hope that I'm right, that I will not be disappointed, but Genevieve Gornichec, of course, is the author of The Witch's Heart, which I read when it was first released and I was blown away. This is a Norse myth retelling following Agmoda, who is one of the wives of Loki, while The Weaver and Witch Queen is not. Now, it has a similar setting, but it's 10th century Norway, so it's more historical fantasy, and we are following two women who have very different goals in life. One wants to live a very quiet life, while the other one wants to have power and basically wants to become the first queen of Norway. But somehow they are there for each other, they are friends, and they decide that they want to help each other no matter what. I think that this will be a great read. I love the setting, and even though it's not a myth retelling, I do think that it deals with these myths, and of course she will be talking about the gods, because we are talking about Vikings. They believe in these gods like Thor and Loki, so I think that this will be right up my alley, and I do like the more historical setting, unlike The Witch's Heart, of course. So very excited. I am going to share my thoughts. I am also going to have a walk with the dogs today, so I will take you guys along with me, but yeah, once I have finished a little bit, I will give you my first update, of course. So, first update. I just got home from work and I'm going to start making dinner. I'm going to dice these onions. So if I start crying, that's why. But I thought, why not just catch all of you guys up with where I am at The Weaver and the Witch Queen. So normally I would be listening to an audiobook, but why not have a chat? So I just got around the 30% mark. I think that the book is around 400 pages and I'm 120 pages in. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I do think that the writing is a little bit more accessible than The Witch's Heart, even though The Witch's Heart was a very accessible book as well. But this one has short sentences, it's not too poetic, it's not extremely describing. So the story in itself is very enjoyable, but I do think that it's very accessible to everybody just because that the writing style is not very specific. I think that the writing style is also not something that a lot of people are going to really notice while reading the story. It's just there to tell the story, and it's nothing exquisite in itself. That was also true for The Witch's Heart, to be honest, so I'm not complaining because the story in itself is very interesting. At the start, we meet 3 young women, and actually at the beginning they're only 12 years old, so early teenagers, very young teenagers. And one of them is not a sister, the other 2 are sisters, but they decide to have an oath, blood oath for each other, to always be there for each other. And you see a little bit what happens at around that age, but very early on we actually have a time jump, and now we're a decade later. So now they are in their early 20s, and I think that's also one of the reasons why it feels a little bit younger, since even though these are, of course, grown women, none of them have a husband, none of them have children, so they still feel pretty young. And we actually see what happened over time. So somehow they lost touch. To keep it spoiler free, something happened and they're no longer in touch, but over time they still try to look out for each other in a way. And what I really find very enjoyable is that you see this sisterly bond between the 3 of them, and you also see that they have very distinct personalities, which is something that I absolutely adore. Also, because it is set in the Viking age and it's historical fantasy, I would say that the historical part, it's probably the way that it should be. It's probably not wrong and very accurate, but it's not very important for the story, is what I would say. We don't really see a lot of historical details. But I did really enjoy that setting in itself. I like stories that deal with Vikings. I don't think that we have nearly enough. And even though it's not a myth retelling, you of course see these gods because they do play a very important part in their lives, and I really like that as well. We also have one of these three who is a witch, which is magic that I absolutely adore. That was the way in The Witch's Heart. It's similar here. So all in all, that is all really interesting. Also the plot where they have to go on a quest to save each other. Really enjoy that. I like the interference with the kings and the other side characters. However, I can already see that romance is going to be an important part here. And I actually don't mind that. I like reading about romance, but I can see some tropes happening that feel a little bit YA. It is definitely marketed as an enemies to lovers book, or at least having that trope. And I can already see that maybe, at the very least, there is one enemies to lovers going to happen. I think multiple. And I also think that it's going to have that, oh, I can't decide. There's definitely going to be some drama, maybe between the girls, maybe between other characters as well. And I must say that normally I'm really not a fan of that. And there are definitely books who do it well. I think that Daughter of the Moon Goddess is one of those that is also marketed as adult fantasy, but it feels very young because of those tropes. And there it was handled perfectly. So I believe in Genevieve Gornichec that she can pull it off here as well. But this does make me a little bit nervous that if that's really the route that she is going to take, I really hope that she does it justice and that, well, yeah, in the end, that this most anticipated book of the year will not disappoint me in the romance category, because I do like romance. It just needs to be done well. And if it starts feeling too young, it's not that it's done wrong or not in a good way, but just that I cannot really connect to it anymore. So I hope that that's not the case. But we will see. Up until this point, it's definitely everything that I expected it to be, and I had very high expectations. So hooray about that. And I'm not even crying with the onions, so even more hoorays. It's a good day. Also, if you're wondering where the dogs are, they're outside. I'm going to go get them, and well, you will probably hear a lot of barking. Hey! Kom! Kom op! And this is the end result. I hope that it tastes good because it's the first time that I tried this, but can't be bad, right? So I quickly wanted to update you guys because I am at page 300 right now, and I think that I am going to finish this book later today. So one last update before I wrap this up. Now, I must say that up until this point, I'm really enjoying the story. I'm also really happy that the enemies to lovers is something that I don't completely despise. I haven't read a lot of those books, but often it's enemies, 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 I absolutely hate you, and then all of a sudden it's I'm in love with you. And here I do think that it's more gradual. However, I will say that the main character, to me, I cannot really connect to her, and I do think that she is rather stupid at times, that she makes stupid decisions, but it doesn't really hamper my enjoyment while reading the book. So I guess that's fine. Also, we are seeing more witches and more magic in general that I'm really enjoying, so I'm happy with that. In the end, I think, and a lot can change because it's still a little bit over 100 pages that I need to read. But at this point, it's not an all-time favorite, but it is a book that I am thoroughly enjoying, and I would recommend, especially if you do like The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichec, I think that you will like this one as well. So for that, I am quite happy. And I do hope that I can finish this book later today and then give you just an overall wrap-up of what happened and if it actually had a satisfying ending or not. Now, for now, I am going to go on a bike ride. Friends of ours who just had a baby invited us to just play a little bit of board games. So we're going to go there by bike, and I also need to pick some board games. I think that since we are going to go to a little cafe, I can't pick huge, humongous board games, plus they have the baby. So I think that short board games that don't take a lot of space will be what I'm bringing with me. But I still have to have a quick look, and then we need to go because I'm late. I need to be there in 15 minutes and I don't cycle that fast. So yes, need to keep going. But I will update you in a minute about this one as well. What are we going to bring with us? I'm guessing the Mind is one that they really enjoy, which is a cooperative board game, but it has a little twist and you can play it like extremely fast. Going to go over everything else because a lot of these take up a lot of space, and that's true for all. Here we have a couple of smaller ones, and I do know that they like Portugal, and that's one that you can play quite quickly as well. This one takes longer than you would expect. It's actually Citadels. It's Machiavelli in Dutch, but it's Citadels in English, if you know that game. Set takes a lot of space and it's quite loud, so let's go with Port Royal. And I'm guessing that probably with the baby and with talking a lot, these two will probably be enough. Since otherwise, like Azul, it's such a fun game, but it takes up too much space and everything else. Ooh, yes, another one. Maybe I can also take Biblios with me, which is quite a fun game. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and it plays quite quickly. It says, what does it say? 30 minutes, so that's fine, I suppose. Yes. These three, I'll bring with me. So, final update, because I have just finished The Weaver and the Witch Queen by Genevieve Gornichec, and I must say that I'm pleasantly surprised that ending those final 100 pages, which is basically the last quarter of the book, were my favorite, and that's always nice when the story sticks the landing, right? Now, I must say that up until that point, I liked it. I thought that it was a little bit over average, so maybe 3.5, 4 stars, just a solid, good standalone, one that I would definitely recommend, but nothing extremely surprising. However, that ending really took it up a notch for me. Is it an all-time favorite? Is it going to be in my top 10 standalones of all time? I don't think so, but in my top 20, yeah, definitely. So yes, a success. Now, I must say that at the point that I left you last time, everything was kind of okay, and you know that if you still have 100 plus pages to go, that something needs to happen, right? There needs to be some added drama, and I was already guessing what it could be. However, the story took me by surprise, and it wasn't because it was illogical, it was actually really illogical, but it was just because Genevieve Gornichec is apparently a better storyteller than me. Who would have known? So yes, I was pleasantly surprised by that. I do think that the Enemies to Lovers in itself was done well. There were a couple of times that there was just some added drama that I didn't like that much, but I also think that I'm not the biggest fan of Enemies to Lovers, so maybe it's just the trope. That is a trope, and if you don't like it that much, it's still going to be there. But overall, I think that it was handled better than what I have seen in the past in other books. Now, what I also really want to mention is that there is LGBTQ plus inclusion, there is an LGBTQ plus character, and I really liked how Genevieve Gornichec showed that in the story, so that's another plus. Now, I do think that Between the Witch's Heart and this one, The Witch's Heart, is still my favorite novel by Genevieve Gornichec. Of course, that is a Norse myth retelling, so I like myths, so of course I'm going to like it, but it is of course also less unique than this one, because with The Witch's Heart, you basically follow the story of Loki, but from Erboda's point of view, who is one of his wives. So the story itself remains pretty much the same. I didn't know the original one, so I don't mind that, because for me, it's all new. But with this one, you have an original story. It's more historical fantasy, it's not really myth. Of course, you do have the gods there, and it's Norse/Viking inspired. So in that point, I do think that it's more original. And even though I did not really like the main character that much, I think that she was still logical. Everything that she did was in line with her character, but she did some illogical things, some things that I thought didn't really make sense, but for the character it made sense. And I actually like that maybe more than a character that I can root for all the time, because this makes it a little bit more unpredictable, and I like that. So all in all, definitely a big success. Now, I would recommend it, especially if you like standalones. If you like The Witch's Heart, I would also recommend this one. If you like Norse-inspired stories, then also give this one a try. And if you don't like romance that much, I still think that the story in itself is interesting enough that you will still be engaged. So that's a plus as well. Now, if you want to see another spoiler-free reading vlog by me, you can watch this one, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!